Welcome to the For Real Though Show, the podcast with the purpose for the people. I'm your host, Christopher Keith. And as of course, you know, we're brought to you by Queso. What? There's Quesos in the Midwest. You already know what it is. So before we get started, y'all, I got a confession to make. I'm not saying that y'all be checking for me like that, but I be checking for you. So I know it's been a long time, and these podcasts used to come a little more, consistently. And lately, man, it's just been dry, dry, dry. So but I do miss you guys, man. I miss talking to you guys, man. It's just a matter of, man, so many hours in a day. My life be life, it be busy. Life be busy. I happen to be off this evening. And the thing about this podcast is it's a labor of love. You know what I mean? I do have one sponsor. Thank you, Queso What. But this is a labor of love, and my thought is to always, give something and add something of substance, something that either thought provoking, uh, educational, entertaining. Um, and the thing is I never want to just come on here and just give y'all anything. You know what I'm saying? I'm never going to do that. I'm always going to come with something that, is well thought out, prepared, and something that I'm passionate about. So, I've got many notes. I got like 5 shows. I got like 5 notes, well, 5 shows worth of notes that I've got, some interviews that I have commitments from, just hadn't been able to connect them as of now. Mostly on me. That's mostly on me. Some that I'm still waiting to hear back from, but still, it's all good. Because other people's life be life in too. But I did come up with something that I wanted to stay that allows me to stay connected with you guys, with my, with the people that are checking for me. I appreciate that. I do got some ideas. So this is my idea. I want to give you the content that you used to getting. But in the meantime, since I'm at my busiest time of the year, working wise, it's definitely that season, and time is short. This is what I'm going to do. I want to share stories about my life. When I say stories, I don't mean like a whole big thing. I mean just like little funny things that happen in my life. Okay. We all got stories, and I grew up loving stories. So I love storytelling. I remember back in the day, I used to listen to radio programs that had stories on it. One of them was KMOX in St. Louis. Mike Shannon used to have a show called Late Night with Shannon or something like that. He would do it at his restaurant, and he would have all these baseball players, these old, like retired, mostly baseball players, get on there and tell stories. So even when I was a little kid, man, I love storytelling. And now with the advent of podcasts and stuff, there's so many stories out there. Snap Judgment is one of my favorites. This American Life. Those are some great storytelling podcasts. So I just love it. Um, and I thought to myself, man, I kind of got some stories to tell myself. And then, of course, Biggie had that jam. I got a story to tell, right? So I figured, you know what? The way to stay connected with you guys until it's time, where I can give you the content that I really enjoy giving you that's substantive. Did I, did I pronounce that word right? Substantive. Um, then until then, let me just share. I'm gonna share these quick stories. How about that? And my commitment to you is to do one of these once a week until it's, till I can get back to the content that you used to having. But hopefully they'll still be entertaining and funny. Uh, some of them be funny, some of them won't be. I've actually got a list of them. And this first story that I'm going to tell you, I actually got the idea from another radio show, from another podcast, Bomani Jones. And so I'm going to share that idea with you, or rather, that particular story with you in just a few moments. But first, I wasn't going to talk about this. My niece was over here, Kayla Marie, the other day, and her and my wife were sitting in the living room talking about the Diddy situation. And they was going back and forth, having their own conversation about it. And I found it interesting. I thought to myself, huh, what is the difference between Diddy and some of these other artists, who've been, accused of stuff, convicted of stuff or whatever in the Black community? So I asked them, I said, hey, what do you girls, what do you ladies, women, think is the difference in the Diddy situation versus, say, R. Kelly or Cosby? Nobody's saying that P. Diddy was trying to buy NBC or nothing like that. People weren't really coming to his defense. And so my wife was saying, well, she feels that it's just a new time. It's a new time. And, a lot of that old stuff, that old way of thinking is kind of passing away. Uh, and Kayla agreed with her, so, and I was like, man, I thought about that. And I think to a degree that's correct. I think in fairness, to a degree that is correct. But I also believe it's multi-layered. Uh, so when you look and compare, I think the first thing is, there's a video. I think that's the first thing. There's a video. And it's similar to the Ray Rice thing when the Ray Rice situation came up. It was one thing when you heard about it, but it's another thing when you have a video. So when the video came, when people are actually seeing, what's happening, or what happened, then people have a much different reaction to it, a much more visceral reaction. It's something that's not ethereal, and it comes down to, wow, I saw this with my own eyes, and I think that tends to affect people. Similar to, the civil rights movement. That's why, uh, showing, the water holes and getting sicked on by dogs and stuff like that. That was different. Seeing that on television than say, hearing about it on the radio or reading the newspaper. It's a different reality to see people's anguish and their fear, their pain, in broad daylight. Uh, so that's the first thing, the video, you know. Uh, but on the other hand, when I look at, like, say, recently, when I think was Megan Thee Stallion that was shot, was it her or some, was it Cardi B? Was it Megan? I'm not sure which one it was, but you remember one was shot by a rapper who denied it, and then, after he was convicted, you know, kind of still act like it was her fault, and people wasn't really caping for her. You know what I mean? They wasn't caping for her like that. Um, so obviously there's still some misogynistic stuff going on. That wasn't that long ago. But so my theory, though, my along with those other theories, my other theory is that Diddy himself has never really been a character that we relate to. Like, he's never been a star, right? If you look at it, when he started as, an intern at Uptown Records, many years ago, a few decades ago, he was known as this hungry kid. And then he got him a couple acts, right? And he started producing. And, hey, some major influences there, but Mary J, Mace, um, Biggie, just to name a few. But he was never the guy that we looked at as someone to look up to, someone to admire, someone we thought, was talented beyond being behind the scenes in the studio. Um, which kind of goes to what's his name, Suge Knight's point. When he was at Source Awards, he's like, hey, if you don't want somebody all in the video, all on your record, come to Death Row. Well, that to me, that was a sign, that if you look at, like, say, for instance, look at all his names. He started off as Puff Daddy, then he was Puffy, then he was P Diddy, then he was Diddy, Sean John, right? He's got all these names, and I believe that that's because he's been a person that's trying to find him. A person who's trying to find his niche in, the super popular spaces of, being a great recognizable icon. You know, in reality, you know, nobody, I don't think nobody was ever checking for Puffy like that. Like, nobody was checking for him. Nobody was like, oh my God, Puffy's coming to town. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a big deal. He's always come off to me as a person who wants to be seen, who wants to be important, who wants to be the star, who wants to be the center of attention, who wants all the credit. And certainly, you know, lately when artists have come out and said, "Hey, I want my masters back," and talking about how he did, several artists, kind of remind you of Pebbles and TLC. When that stuff started coming out, and he started giving back, rights and stuff. Well, actually, there's a time limit on the rights, so he kind of tried to come off as benevolent and stuff like that. But in my opinion, I mean, he's always been, to me, he's just been a mark with a lot of money. You know what I mean? So he kicks it with J Lo for a while. He's got glamorous chicks around him and this, that, and the other. Uh, Always on the scene, with his dark glasses on and stuff like that. But he's just he's just a guy that, to me, wants the attention. He just come off thirsty, in my opinion. He just always come off thirsty. And I think that a lot of the reasons why people ain't caping up for him is because there's nothing to cape up for. You know what I mean? He's a mark with a lot of money. Basically, that's all it is. So that's my thought about why people ain't checking for him, or people not. He just always seemed like a fake guy. That always wants the camera, wants to seem super important. Uh, and obviously, he's accomplished a lot in terms of music, and producing and that sort of thing. Certainly, he was a master sampler, that's for sure. They know how to make a hit in many cases, but I just think, when it all comes down to it, he wasn't that dude that he thinks that he always wanted to be. And I think, again, that's why he changed his name and so forth all the time, always trying to find his mark. So anyway, with that being said, that's all I got to say about Diddy. There are a lot more people who can articulate, you know, the whole legal and the moral sense of it than I can, or that I'm willing to do right now. So I'll just keep that moving. So now for the story. I got this idea from Bomani Jones, like I said, and the story is about the time my car got broken into. Okay. I got a story to tell about the time my car got broken into. So now keep in mind, my car has been broken into several times over the years, mostly in the 80s and say early 90s. But in this particular case, let's go to the 80s, late 80s. Okay. Late 80s, I got this Cutlass Supreme. It's a 77. Now, it wasn't my first car or my first Cutlass. It was my second or third Cutlass. But it was like I said, it was real early. This particular Cutlass, it was a hoopty. Okay. If you know anything about Cutlasses back in that day, man, they were nice. Okay. They were nice. It was a great sedan, ran like a horse. My first one was a V8. This one was a V6. But it was a hoopty in terms of the outside, right? The inside was clean and stuff. The outside was kind of prime, right? It was kind of prime for the most part. And then on the front side, the front bumpers or the front side panels were painted yellow. Okay, so obviously the car was in an accident. Somebody put these things on it, but it worked. It worked. It got me from A to B. Uh, and another thing about colors, they were easy to work on. So I could change the plugs anytime. I changed my own oil. It was all good. And of course, because I love my sounds, I have my tape deck in there. At that time, I don't think they had CDs in cars, if CDs were released at all. I definitely don't think there were CD players in the cars, but I don't think it was CDs were out yet. But anyway, so I had a Sony in there. I had a equalizer, booster, and all this kind of stuff. I had like this little case that would sit right in the middle, right in the middle between the seats with all my tapes and stuff lined up. So mind you now, at this time, I'm mixtape guy, right? So I made tapes for all my friends and mixtapes and stuff like that of all these jams and stuff. I used to sell them, give them away, whatever. And so I had my own collection, which was stellar. Okay. It was a stellar collection. And so, but Cutlass has had this one little issue, man, and that is there's a wire that would go to the starter up under the car or the alternator. I'm not sure which one it was, but it would get close up under there, and it would start to burn, and it would burn through there, so you wouldn't be able to start the car. So here I am. I'm in Castle Point, which is like a suburb of St. Louis County. If you're not from there, it's just a stone's throw away from Ferguson. I think I'm coming from my boy Ezel's house, is what if I recall. Well, anyway, so I'm in Castle Point, and all the Castle Point neighborhoods, they're named after like kingdom stuff, right? So you got Baron and you got Royal and stuff like that. Well, my car happened to stop on this street called Duke. Okay, it stopped right in front of these people's house. And they were sitting outside, couldn't get it. I looked up under there and saw what was up and everything. So I was like, man, I'm gonna need to get this car towed, to get it to a mechanic to, fix this little issue, what have you. So they sitting outside, man. And I asked him, I said, hey, do you mind if I leave my car here for, 24 hours? I come back and get it tomorrow. So he's like, yeah, cool, man. Cool, no problem. As a matter of fact, they had a car sitting to the side that wasn't operated at all. It didn't even have a motor in it, right? So I guess they figured out I was doing a little better than they was doing, but they had a car that was all jacked up, no motor in it or nothing like that. And it was kind of sitting on some not stilts, but so sitting on some jacks. So cool, right? So no problem. I come back the next day and the stereo's gone, right? My stereo's gone, my little booster gone, my equalizer gone, and most of my tapes. So I say to myself, man, damn, obviously I'm hot, I'm heated, you feel violated. Anytime something gets started, you do feel violated. So obviously I feel violated. What the hell is that? I'm sorry, I just heard a noise. I'm not sure what that was. Anyway, so yeah, I felt pretty violated, but I went on and got my car towed, took care of my business, got me another stereo, of course. This one was a Kenwood, so I had to upgrade, obviously, right? Got me some new speakers, got the whole thing back together. Cool. I'm on point. So I say, man, about 3 months later, I'm at Jamestown Mall. Jamestown Mall also uh, is in North St. Louis County. Uh, it's no longer there, thanks to some great servers, great. I don't want to call them politicians. Great public servants who finally got that thing tore down. But that's when, back in this day, this is when Jamestown was popping, and mostly a black populated mall. So I go in there and take care of my business. I don't know what I did, but I got there, came out, and I see this car. What car did I see? The same car that was in the driveway of where I left the car at Duke. So I noticed for whatever reason, don't ask me why, because again, this was the late 80s. So this is many, this is decades ago. But there was something about that car that I noticed, they kind of stood out. I don't know if it was the bumper, I don't know if it was the color or whatever. But I said to myself, oh, they got their car going. And then I said, wonder, I wonder if they took my stereo, because it was always in the back of my head. So sure enough, your boy goes in there and I look, and there it is, my Sony stereo. Not only that, some of my tapes were in there. Now, mind you, by this time, I had already remade my shit. I was golden, right? Everything I needed, I had, right? But you know, I felt some type. So what did your boy do? I'm gonna tell you what I did. I went to the trunk, my trunk, and I pulled out. Show you what I pulled out. See that there? That's what I pulled out. This was my tool of choice because these fools left the door open. They left the door unlocked. Open the door. I got this here screwdriver, not this very screwdriver, but a screwdriver just like this. And I went to damn it in that stereo. First I tried to get the outside, but the outside was tough. So I went on the inside of the thing, you know, like the little thing be like this. I stuck it in there and I'm jamming it. I'm tearing shit up. I hear pieces coming apart. I mean, I'm in here tearing this shit to pieces. You hear me? Tapes. Grab them motherfuckers. You know, you have a cassette tape, and you know, I start ringing it out like this, ringing them out like this. I'm crashing, I'm stabbing the tapes, right? I'm stabbing the seats, right? I'm doing all that. I'm going to town on all of this stuff. I'm jamming it, tearing it up. Nobody came. I looked around. Nobody was there. And then some more. Left the scene, got my back, in my car, and I felt so good about myself. Let me tell you, I felt so good. You know, like in college basketball when they win a national championship and they play one shiny moment. That was my one shiny moment. They was like one. If they were showing in slow motion, one shiny moment, you reach for the top. One shiny moment, you knew. They could have showed me like in slow motion. One shiny moment, you reach for the top. One shiny moment, these fools. Right? That's what I did. So, I tell you what, I felt so good about myself. I really did. I really did. So of all the times my car got stolen, I'm sorry, not my car. All the time my car got broken into, I'm sorry, I got so excited about this to this day. That was the one time I got some get back. And you know, karma is not necessarily, you know, like, you know, when things happen, you know, that karma come back to get your ass anyway. But at least on one occasion, at least on one occasion, karma decided to let me dole out the justice. So if you in St. Louis County or somewhere and that happened to be you who broke into my shit, I want you to know. And I'm sure you thought of me when you went in there because I didn't take nothing. I just tore shit up. Right. So I'm sure you thought of me that I wonder if this motherfucker came around. I want to let you know that was me. And I enjoyed every moment of it. Woo! So that is my story for this week. I'll be back next week with another story on the For Real Though show. Hey, thank you for staying with me. Thank you for your patience while I'm in my busiest time of work during the season. I'm gonna keep giving you these stories. I promise not to embarrass nobody other than myself as normal. So y'all stay safe. Enjoy your holiday weekend. Peace out.